We have people ask this question all the time, like, well, aren't there too many restrictions? And we always say it's not restrictions. Mm-hmm. These are 613 opportunities to connect that they have. And that's what we wanted, and that's what we fell in love with.
Welcome back to another episode of Inspiration for the Nation. I'm Yaakov Langer, and I got to sit down with Inspiration for the Nation's first two guests that are not Jewish. I mean, they're Jewish in many ways, but they're not, I guess, legally Orthodox Jewish just yet. They're going through the Geirus process, the Harts. They're incredible, and they're telling me about the challenges that they have along the way. But most importantly, they explain so beautifully through their lens, what they see about Judaism, how they found it, and why it is so beautiful to them. And I think as an Orthodox Jew, at least myself, sometimes we take for granted so many of the things that we have and just all our, mitzvahs, and they have such a beautiful way of looking at it. This episode is in memory of Shimon David ben Yaakov Shlomo, as well as Miriam Sarah bas Yaakov Moshe. And it got me thinking, who do you think, and you're watching this on YouTube, leave a note in the comment, who do you think has had the biggest effect on converts in the history of the world aside from Avraham Avinu? Who would you say? So leave that in the comments. And now, enjoy this week's episode. I'm Yaakov Langer, and you're listening to Inspiration for the Nation. All the way from California. Thanks so much for stopping by. I know you guys are super busy here.
It's been crazy, but we here. We warm. We in here. It's been cold. Yeah. It's been cold. Yeah, big culture shock.
But you hold on. Your wife was telling me that you guys aren't from California.
No.
So
we're not.
Take me back to where.
Isn't that funny? So it's like 10 years later, we've gotten used to that California sun and the heat, and now we're so spoiled that we're like, what is winter? What is cold, right? And this is not even that bad for you guys, right? This is like, and we've been used to winter storms, below zero, being a kid walking to school in snow up to their knees.
Oh my gosh!
And now we're like, what is this?
So, you both grew up in Michigan?
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah. Did you know each other growing up, or not really?
We wish, man.
You know what? The funny thing is, we had a mutual friend that we both grew up with and didn't know that until we met each other.
Yeah. So we were connected.
Somehow with this person.
Within miles from each other, because he's from Detroit and I'm from Rochester, Michigan, which is about almost an hour away from where he lived.
Like it's a different world.
Yeah.
Different world. So how did you guys end up meeting?
We met at a club.
Really?
So I was going to a club one night with some friends and promoting music. So I was doing some music back in that time, and I saw her. She was talking to her friend, but talking to another guy as well. And this guy I actually knew, he was a photographer. And so I seen her. It was like this slow motion moment. It's like, oh, right. And so I was super into her. And so I went up to her and I literally pushed my friend out of the way, and I introduced myself. And she was just so happened to be going into the club that I was going into, and it worked out.
Wow. And the rest is history.
That was it. We exchanged numbers, and boom. And then
we got married 9 months later.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
So based on your backgrounds, were either of you, would you say, religious back then?
Yeah. I was.
You were.
I grew up in a very, 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 very devout Christian household.
What type of Christianity?
So it was non-denominational, but it first started off Baptist. Mm-hmm. Then it was like Church of God in Christ. Yeah, and then it moved to like the non-denominational. All of them, it's all the same, but just different labels.
Yeah.
But I mean, went to church every single Sunday, multiple times a week. My uncle was a pastor. Well, he was my pastor, and he still is. Still to this day, pastoring, and but just very, very loving family, incredible family. But I learned a lot of values and spirituality and the importance of having that as the foundation of your life. That was ingrained in me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and for me, no. My mom she was raised Catholic, and I think she, had some hard times with that and kind of, steered away from it. Mm-hmm. But with us, it wasn't really mentioned too much in our household. I would see my mom pray all the time, but we did not go to church. We didn't do anything like that. I just knew that she believed in God. And I always had this belief as well, too. There's a higher power. And then I think everything kind of changed when I met my husband. Wow. So that's when I kind of went down into the road of Christianity, but I questioned a lot of stuff. So that's when, I don't know, I felt like the entire journey of Christianity, I kept asking questions of like, why is this? Or why is this happening? Or why does this? And I would never get answers. It's like, just because this is why. You don't ask just
meaning
because.
Meaning like concept of like, just believe? Like
just
you got to
just believe. And it just wasn't ever like answers to what I'm really asking. So there was definitely frustration there, or just not, I think, a lack of just education of, why do I believe in? What do I believe in? So, yeah.
It's so interesting because like me growing up, as an Orthodox Jew, I think we're taught so many concepts and ideas that maybe the rest of the world isn't taught, or trained to question and ask. But I find in the outside world, you don't really have as many people as, like, let's say, as you, like, as curious as you, saying like, hey, I just want to get to the truth. Like maybe 100 years ago it was like that, but like today everyone's just like, I don't know, I don't really care.
Yeah.
Like what was different about your journey that you were so like, I want to know the truth?
That's a question I've been asking myself for a long time.
See, you're asking a question about asking questions.
Like, I don't know. I kind of sit back and I think, and I'm like, why did I have so much questions, especially coming from a lack of that in my household? But, I've always been a curious child. I was always curious. I always did ask my mom, like, why is this? Why is that? And she'll go, because of this. Like, but I think I've just always been that type of person. And I've always just really paid attention to like, what is happening? Like, I don't want to do things just because. I want to make sure that it's like meaningful and I understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. So I think it just came out of curiosity that I've always had growing up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And what about you, for LaDerryl? Were you like, was it complicated for you that your wife was asking a lot of questions? Because you're like, hey, I like this, I believe in this.
No, it wasn't complicated at all, because once we got together, like she mentioned, we both grew within Christianity, for quite some time, and then her ability to question was actually everything that I needed, because as we started growing together, we started questioning together. Why do we believe this?
Yeah.
What does this mean? What does that mean? And I think that was one of the beautiful things about Judaism, is that they welcomed questions.
Yeah.
And, and mostly in Christianity, you're not allowed to ask questions. Like she said, it's just because. And I think too, like for me, I just got to a point to where I wanted to have a personal relationship with God for me, because my family was so, it was just very, very, because my family, or I had that upbringing spiritually, and you go to church here, and my uncle's a pastor and all these different things. It was just like a thing of, this is just what we do. This is just what we do. This is just a part of our family. You don't turn away from it. This is just who we are. And I feel like as I grew up, especially when we got married, I was like, I don't really know God. I don't really know him myself. I know him through the eyes or from the perspective of my family. And so, and that's what really started getting the gears turning.
Yeah.
So I interviewed Nissan Black, and I saw you guys having something with them. So that was great. So with him, I think, if I remember correctly, it was like 2 years ago, he found Judaism through like Google. Yeah. Like, how did you guys stumble upon Judaism?
Very, very interesting question. So out of the blue, I got a call from my cousin, and he randomly said, hey, listen, I believe that at some point there were some Jews that came from Africa via transatlantic slave trade over to the United States of America. And I was like, whatever, like, what does that even mean? And so I blew it off for a little bit, and but it stayed with me. And so I went in the rabbit hole, and I started digging and digging and digging, and I'm sure you know what you get when you go down that world. And but like we started learning this, and we started hearing this, and there's a lot of craziness within that rabbit hole. But then, because I've always been a seeker of truth, there was something there. I was like, okay, it led me to really wanting to know, who are these Jewish people? Who are these Jews? Why do they do what they do? right? So then I started thinking, I'm like, because I was driving. I remember this couple of times driving Postmates. I was, doing some deliveries and
Hope you got good tips.
I did.
Okay, good.
I did. But I was doing some deliveries, and I was always over in this big Jewish community out in LA, and I just never understood them. But I would just always see them, like, because I would work on Saturdays.
Right.
But then Saturday morning early, they're walking around, and I'm like, why can't they just get in the car?
Right.
Like why are they walking? Why are they just so tight knit in their little communities? But I started having this, like, the more aware that I became, then the more curious I became as well. And then that was around all at the same time. And I'm like, let me start really searching.
How old were you at this point?
This was about 5 years ago.
I don't know how old are you
so
now?
I'm 38 now.
Okay,
so minus 5.
Yeah, there you go.
So
and how old were you?
Just a year younger than
Got
him.
it, okay.
Yeah.
And so,
And how many kids do you guys have at this point? 5 years ago.
5.
You had
At that point.
At that point.
So at that point, that was just 2.
2 at that
Yeah.
point. And so
Well,
now
you guys have 5 children now?
Yeah.
we do.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it common in where you came from to have 5 children?
Yeah.
His
yeah.
side-
Big families.
His
Yeah?
fam-
Oh, you do?
No,
Okay.
his family, yes.
His
Mine,
side,
no.
not you.
No.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. But if you're becoming Jewish, then you're back to like, okay, this is it's
this is
common.
totally normal.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And so
And beautiful at the same
it
time.
is
Yeah.
beautiful. And so I got very, very curious and started researching. And so tying it back to the conversation that I had with my cousin, I'm like, okay, are there any Jews of color? Like, are there any, Black Orthodox Jews? And at the time, this was something that was very foreign because I never even seen it. I never seen Jews of color. And so I went online, just like you said with Nissim, I went to Rabbi Google and I'm like, okay, Black Orthodox Jews. And who pops up? Nissim Black at that time.
Wow.
Right. And it was there was just a few other, but not a whole bunch of people. And so then I started watching a whole bunch of videos of Nissim Black, him and his family, his interviews and why he did it. And I'm like, wow, very, very similar story. He's a recording artist, right? I did music as well. And so this whole thing, and I was like, wow, we started having conversations about it. It made sense for both of us.
Yep.
And
Hold on, I'm just gonna pause you. It's amazing that you both were on, like, I'm sure there's not like same exact level, but like you guys were like together. Like I'd be very scared if you're like, hey, I really like this route of Judaism. She's like, I have a lot of questions. I don't know about there.
A lot of people say that but
Yeah.
honestly, like we've always kind of been on the same page with things.
Yep.
Like, I can't really explain it. I mean, people say it's rare, but I'm like, we kind of, because they were like, oh, so after he saw this, how much further? I was like, no, this was the same time.
Same time.
It was just like,
Wow.
we had a conversation and we learned it together. Like we
Yeah.
went down that rabbit.
I think it's a big bracha. I literally interviewed someone, Elisa Bulow. It's like, I think one of the most popular interviews. And she's a Giores and her husband's a Baal Tshuva. And as of right now, whatever, they had a very difficult life. But as of right now, they're married. They love each other. He's not religious. He's not observant. And she is. So, whatever, they just, handle challenges differently.
Yeah.
But it's just that, that I wasn't as surprised of, like, as you two being like, hey, we're on the same wavelength. Like it's a very, you're lucky. It's really awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I've trusted my husband's judgment because this is one thing. Yes, he was raised in Christianity, but one thing I did see is that my husband was always searching for Hashem, like just searching after his heart. I always saw that about him, which is why I think I trusted him so much of when I started going down the road of Christianity, because I had that curiosity somewhere. I just didn't know what I didn't know. And he was very patient with me. It wasn't like he put Christianity on me. He was like, this is what I believe, how I, do things. If this is how you want to go, like just very patient. And so, like he said, us going down that rabbit hole and just searching more about Judaism, it just made so much sense. Like here in Judaism, you welcome questions.
Right.
And the answers make sense. A lot of sense. So I think for us, it was just like, I felt like our neshamas was like, this is what we've been looking for
100%.
the entire time.
It was a connection that the Jewish people had to the creative universe.
Yeah.
We felt like, man, we feel like they just have this connection that nobody else has. It's something that they have, which is true. You know, there's just something about the connection between Hashem and the Jewish people, and we wanted that.
Yeah.
You know, and we love the structure.
The family
in Christianity,
aspect,
exactly. In Christianity, we didn't have structure. It was just like you just do whatever you really want to do.
Yeah.
Right? But we fell in love with, like, this is what you do, and this is how you do it, and this is why you do it. And people say, well, aren't you, like, we have people ask this question all the time, like, well, aren't there too many restrictions? And we always say it's not restrictions. These are 613 opportunities to connect that they have. And that's what we wanted, and that's what we fell in love with.
Yeah.
It's such a breath of fresh air to hear someone who's not Jewish like see that and be like, oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Oh my
Because
gosh.
I think so many people listening and watching to this grew up with like, no, this is what you need to do because it's the right way. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
But a lot of times they don't have the opportunity to think and say like, wait, am I doing this because I really believe in it or
Right,
just because
right.
this is what you got to do? So
Exactly.
Yeah.
So to hear you say that, like as an outsider, say like, "Hey, we see this, we appreciate it, we love it.
Yes.
We want to be involved."
It's a breath of fresh air. Like he said, it's the structure aspect of it because you have meaning to what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, Jews have meaning. Like, you know, to see my husband get up and pray and have to pray 3 times a day in davening, I'm like, that is amazing, right? In Christianity, you're not time bound to do certain things. You're not time bound to do anything, right? And sometimes you're not even spending that time, you know, with God. It's just like, it's just so amazing to see the structure of things and that you have this connection with him that's so meaningful and so much purpose behind it, which for us, that's why we're like, this is like an opportunity just to continue to connect with Hashem, for your relationship just to grow and grow. But we've talked about that before too. We see how, you know, because we say like, okay, well, how does this turn into just a more of a opportunity of where it's just what we do? Because we told ourselves, we're like, we don't want this to be, this is just what we do. We want this to be, this is
Who we are.
right? Yeah. So
Yeah, and we try our best to look at it like, not that we have to do this, but we get to do this.
yeah,
Right.
we get to.
Yeah.
Beautifully said.
That is so well said. Hold on. So I have so many questions about the process and all
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah.
But okay, just take me back to the story. So okay, so you're looking into it, and like, is there a moment where you're like, I think it's clear, like we want to become Orthodox Jews?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was, I think when, during that, I mean, it didn't take long. It didn't take long for us to really figure it out. Like once we went down the Google route and we started researching what is Orthodox Judaism, how does it work, and all these different things. I mean, we just had a couple conversations about it, and we connected with some people online just to kind of connect and talk and ask some questions, and I mean, it just, I don't know the exact moment, but do you remember the exact moment?
Well, it was like a build up to it. Like it was us again having questions of, you know, why were certain groups saying that they were the Jews of Israel and not keeping Shabbat or not doing certain things. And so for us, that's what made us kind of look up more stuff. And we were like, well, that doesn't make sense because the Jews, they keep the Sabbath. Like, why aren't they keeping the Sabbath? So that's when we ended up discovering more about Nisim and seeing that, wow, he's an Orthodox Jew. Like he went all the way with it. He converted. He keeps the Sabbath. And so I think from that moment we studied on my husband. He looked at me. He goes, I want to go all the way. And he was like, do you want to go all the way? And I was like, I want to go all the way. I wanted to.
Yeah.
And so it was like that moment that, yeah.
You know, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm starting to
Right.
kind of remember a little bit more too. Like, I remember being very confused about the concept and the role of Mashiach. And, you know, in Christianity, there's a belief one way, and then in Judaism, there's something different. And so once we really started to understand, you know, the role that Mashiach is going to play, and all, and he hasn't been here yet,
Right,
and all
right,
these
right.
things, and we were able to find in the Tanakh where it talks about all these different these requirements, right? He's going to do this. He was like, this makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that was one thing that also really helped us as well, just to kind of clear up a lot of the doctrine that we grew up with, you know.
Did you get pushback from your families? Like, hey, like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
For sure. And I think, see, the thing is this, our family, whenever somebody like us steps away from, you know, family tradition, rightfully so, you're going to get questioned and they're going to feel a certain way, because at the end of the day, making sure that we put ourselves in their shoes, they want what's best for us, and they want to make sure that we're connecting with good people. We want to make sure that we're not crazy and all these things. And so we understand, but also we communicated with a lot of our families saying, hey, just as we understand where you're coming from, we want you to understand where we're coming from as well. This is our journey. This is what we feel connected to. We just ask that there be respect here and some love and just some support. And then after conversations, you know, I think we have a really, really good, a good relationship with our family. And there's some who still don't get it, and it's unfortunate, you know, but
I would say overall, though, our family's pretty supportive. And my mom, she married a conservative Jew, but it didn't work out. So she can't really say too much about what I'm like, you married a Jew. So, but she actually worked with a lot of Jewish women as well, too. So she understood the culture a little bit. She, you know, understood the holidays. She still does. She sent us a Hanukkah card. I've really appreciated it.
Nice.
Yes. Shout out to Mom. But she overall is, you know, I respect and love my family so much, and especially from my mom, the respect that she has for our decisions. And she might not really understand why we're choosing to go all the way of Orthodox, but there's still that respect there. And even from my siblings, I appreciate the respect and love. And his brother, I mean, he can probably talk about that, but we respect his brother so much because his curiosity is not just it's not a negative curiosity. It's like, I want to learn so I can know my brother. Yeah,
he asks me questions a lot. You know, he's like, okay, so tell me about this. Why did the Jews do this? But it's like, I want to know who my brother is, right? I want to know this new part about my brother because I love you. You know, same thing with my dad. My dad asks me questions as well, not in a negative way.
Right.
So I love that, having those conversations with them.
It's so funny because like when someone asks a question, it could be one of two ways. It could be because they're questioning it, like, does that make sense? And then it's a question of like, I just want to understand you better to get closer to you. And like, that dialogue is incredible that you have that for the most part. That's really cool. So tell me about the process. Like, how has the Gioris and Ger process been so far?
Yeah. If I could be honest, it's not easy.
It's not. I can't imagine it's easy. I mean, also like I don't know if it's a secret. I mean, I don't think it's a secret, but like the goal is to like convince people who want to join to like, no, it's very difficult to do it.
Yeah. It's not just a thing where you just wake up in the middle of the night and be like, yo, I'm about to be Jewish. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a serious process. So it'll be 2 years since we officially started the process. You know, it was a couple years before that where we stepped away from Christianity and we started learning Tanakh, and, you know, we threw away our New Testaments and all those different things. And we started, you know, we picked up the Jewish Bible, you know? And so 2 years ago, let's start from the beginning. So we were able to, so through a friend that I met through Instagram, as I was on that search of looking for Black Orthodox Jews, I was able to connect with quite a few people. And there was one in particular, big shout out to, should we do shout outs?
Yeah.
Okay.
I say, why not?
Okay, cool.
He gets shout outs all the time.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So big shout out to Yehuda Price. As I was going through the Google search looking for Black Orthodox Jews, I came across, a lot of people. It was so cool too, because the willingness to be able to connect and to be able to help you out, it was just unbelievable. I felt so warm and welcome, and they were like, dude, whatever question you got, I got you. And so one particular gentleman, Yehuda Price, big shout out. He was very, very instrumental in really helping us find our community and connect us with our now rabbi. And so we were just going back and forth, and that's when we said, hey, we want to convert, we want to do this thing. Tell me about your community, blah, blah, blah. And so he spoke to the rabbi, got the email. He said, hey, email him, tell me your story. We did that, sent him a long email, told him about our story. And the very next day he said, wow, I would love to meet you guys. And
we sent a picture as well.
And we sent a picture of our family.
Photo,
and then at the end of the message, he said, welcome home, brother.
Wow.
And that really, really impacted. And it wasn't a thing of like, hey, you're about to be Jewish. It was like, no, welcome home as like, yo, wherever you're at, we got you. We want to help you. Let's hear your story. Let's maybe there's a chance to walk you through this thing. That's where he was coming from, you know? And it was beautiful. It just made us feel warm and welcome.
Yeah.
And so then at that point, we met with the rabbi. He told us that we need to contact the Beis Din. So we did out in California, Los Angeles, and we had that first meeting. And that first meeting, was a kind of a introduction of just really wanting to
know our story. Why did we want to go down this route of converting to Judaism? Our background. I mean, pretty much kind of everything that we're sharing today.
Right.
And yeah, it was a little intimidating, but it was, going through this process. I think it's showed us the appreciation of this process as well too, because some people are like, don't you just want to get it over with? And you just like, of course, like our neshama's like, yes, I want to be Jewish already, but at the same time, it's giving us time to make sure that we're doing everything right, that we are prepared and ready, right? Yeah. And at the same time, yes, the best dean, they're responsible for, some of the decisions, but at the end of the day, it's Hashem.
Right.
Hashem knows. He runs it. He knows when are we ready. And I think that's what we're looking at it as, like, he knows when we're going to get that green light, and it's just time.
Yeah. And I think that's what's helping us get through this process peacefully, is just knowing that at the end of the day, Hashem got it. He's in control of it all. 100%. But at the same time, we got to make sure that we're not lazy.
Yeah.
We got to make sure that we're doing our efforts. We're putting in our hishtadlus and making sure that we do everything that we can within our power to learn, to study, and to do whatever the Beis Din is requiring. We've got to make sure we moved into a Jewish community.
Yeah.
We moved that was a requirement for the Beis Din, right? You want to do this thing? Okay, you need to be in walking distance from a shul, right?
And we actually moved an hour away from where we were to 2 hours.
Yeah.
Wow.
2 hours from where we were to a Jewish community. I mean, that's like, they want to see that. They want to know, like, okay, are you really serious?
Right.
Because you're
dedicated.
You have to move to a community. You have to get acclimated to the community, get around it, get your children around it.
Get your kids in school.
That's the biggest thing as well too. If you have kids, like, they want to know, like, do your kids actually, especially our kids being older. We have a 15-year-old and a 13-year-old. Yeah. And at the time that we started it, obviously, they were
15-year-old. Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
And so they wanted to make sure, like, they wanted this for themselves as well too. And so they're like, well, we want to meet your kids. And we were like, please meet our kids. We're so happy because we don't force anything. Everything that our kids do or what they believe, it's basically from mom and dad sharing with them our beliefs, and they have the opportunity to make the decisions for themselves as well too.
That's such a healthy environment. That's great.
Yeah, I think it's the best. It's the best way. I mean, even my daughter, like, when it came down to changing to modest dress, she made that decision in her timing.
Wow.
Ema went ahead first, and I did it, and I didn't force it on her, and she just saw my example, and I think she came up to me and was like, I think I should wear a dress. Yeah. And I was like, if that's what you want, yeah, absolutely. That's great, right? Even though I'm inside like, yes. But it was beautiful to see that transition, and for her to know, like, I didn't force that on her. I wanted it to be organic, and I wanted it to be coming from her. And that's how we are. And I think anytime you force something onto somebody, or especially your children, they're going to rebel against it. They're going to,
100%.
They're going to want to backlash and, do something different. And that's just kind of how we've been with our kids. We educate them.
That's right.
And then they make that decision. And that's the same thing we did. We were vegan years ago too.
Oh, wow.
And making that transition, I was like, Ema will still make, chicken if you want it, right? Like, it's whatever you want. But we told them my reasoning why. And they said, okay, I want to go on the journey and see too. and that's what they wanted.
Are you still vegan?
No.
No. Okay.
We love chicken. and
Okay.
beef.
No, because I'm like you're like about to like keep fully kosher. I don't know if you already do. And
We
then
do.
like
We
and
do.
okay, you keep
Yeah.
kosher and vegan. Like it's a lot of things you can't eat.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Wow. We'll be right back to this week's episode. But first, let me tell you about a podcast that has been changing my life. My life. I sound like I'm from the West. I don't know. This has been changing my life. It is the JOWMA podcast. I'm going to read some notes and tell you why I love it. Everyone likes a good podcast. You're looking for one common factor. You want to learn something new that will help you live a better life. Sometimes you're looking for something small, like an entertaining, funny show. And sometimes you're looking to drastically improve your life. Well, the JOWMA podcast is just that, a way to learn about the crucial topics and ideas in the world of health to help you navigate a better and healthier way to live. The Jewish Orthodox Women's Medical Association shares preventative health information geared to members of the Orthodox Jewish community. Their wonderful and engaging host, board-certified pediatrician Dr. Lisa Minkin, each episode delves into various topics and challenges that so many people have or could have. And there's more. Listening is one thing. You can also call the JOWMA hotline. That's 929-4GEZUNT, GEZUNT, if you don't have access to the internet. There's no reason in 2023 that you need to be in the dark. And some of the most talented doctors and healthcare professionals in our community are here to help. So go ahead and listen to the JOWMA podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts and call the hotline 24/6 at 929-4GEZUNT. If you're watching or listening to this show, then you clearly are looking for inspiration. But there's taking inspiration and then there's going ahead and actually practically going and living the best life you can. So we have incredible bodies given to us by Hashem. And this podcast helps you take care of your body, take care of your health, take care of your children. They bring on fascinating guests, great people. They do a good job. It's very interesting, and go through it. Maybe you're not going to listen to every single episode, but that's okay. There's guaranteed at least one episode that you're like, hey, I would love to know more about this topic. And you could call up and have a conversation with them if you so please. So go ahead and check out their podcast. Now back to my conversation. I have two questions. My one question is like, what's been the hardest part, I guess, about becoming Jewish? And the second question is like, what has been your favorite part, or like, what's been your favorite thing to learn about the Torah? Or maybe it's three questions.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Great question.
My favorite part that I think we both can agree on is Shabbos, right? It's the 25 hours of just rest, and it's that family aspect, that time, and the fact that this is only for the Jews, right? To take that time to be able to literally just have that rest time to tune out the rest of the world, not, be on your phones and, watching TV or anything. It's just like literally you're just away from whatever else is going on in life, and just that time, with Hashem, with your family. Yeah. And we love that aspect. Like that is absolutely, I think, the most beautiful and powerful thing that attracted even us, I think, to Judaism. That's when we saw that. We were like, that's what they're doing on those Saturdays when they're walking.
You disconnect to connect. And it's just a beautiful time. Me personally, I grew up in a very, very family-oriented home. And so when we started learning about the Sabbath, it really, really just hit home, because I said, wow, we get to keep this aspect but really kind of take it to that next level, because this is intentional time together. It's intentional time in your prayer life, your connection to Hashem, is intentional time with your community, it's intentional time in your home. And I said, this is the most beautiful thing ever. So I'll say this. Yes, Shabbos is probably our favorite part of within Judaism, but I would also say that it's also the most challenging part as well, because to learn the laws of Shabbos. It's extensive. It's a lot.
I mean, even me, I've been learning my whole life. Like, Boyer is like so complicated.
It's a lot of stuff. And so, I mean, I have books and, all these different things. And I'm like, this is, if you don't have the right mindset, you can look at it and be like, yo, I can never do this.
Right. Also, it's also like, it could be like the whole goal is like to know about it.
Yeah.
But as you're learning, you're like, Shabbos is not a chill because there's so many things I can't do.
That's a
Yeah.
fact.
But once you actually do know it, understand it, and
Yeah.
like, it's nice. I mean, for me, one of the the nice parts of Shabbos is that we're emulating Hashem. That the seventh day He rested, created this whole concept, and He created the world with the 39 malachos, the 39 actions. Yeah. So we're trying to be like Him. The whole life is trying to be like Hashem. So like every Shabbos we're like, hey Hashem, you made the world, we want to be like you, we don't want to create. You know. So that's challenging.
It is. And I think but it's also I learn to find a beauty in it, because part of a man's role, a Jewish man's role is to study every day of your life. Right And I feel a Jew should never stop learning. Right, that should be that's the main goal of living. It's Torah study. I need to be learning every single day, and I love it. And I've always loved books. I've always learned to study. So it's been great.
So, do you guys know a target date of when you will become Jewish?
No target date. I mean, our next meeting is around Shavuos time. And so. I mean, we're hoping we go back and we show them that, hey, we're still learning, and we're even more confident than when we last came in this past week. Yeah. And that's it.
Yeah. What is it? It comes down to like a test, and like you take a test and like pass fail type of thing.
Yeah.
Comes down to a test.
What would happen? Can I ask you guys a hypothetical? I don't know if you know where I'm going to go with this. What if one of you guys pass and the other one fails? Like.
That's the beauty of it. If one fails, you all fail.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
That's nice. So you guys are a unit.
Yeah, you're a unit. Yeah. And you even take the test as a unit as well, too.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So, I mean, of course, they'll probably ask me, like, there's going to be family purity questions that they're going to ask that he can't definitely, but then he does need to know his aspect of it as well, too. So I think overall, though, we are tested together, and based off of that's a pass or fail, how we answer it together.
Is that like you're like, I don't know, but is that like your focus every day of like, I just want to be there, get it? Yeah.
Oh my, yes.
Brother,
yes.
Listen, that's all we think about. I'm like, okay, yes, I get the process. You got to learn and grow. I'm like, but can we, let's just get this thing done right now. Let's go.
That's the battle, because it's like you want it so bad, but then at the same time, you understand why you have to wait. Right. Because just like you said, Shabbos alone is like, you have so much to learn, which that's why I appreciate, because it's like, once we're Jewish, you're responsible. Like you can't, you're going to, like, if you transgress, that's on you. Right. You know what I mean? So for us to have this time to actually really learn and develop and understand Shabbos, because that's like you need to know Shabbos, right? But yes, overall, it's like, we just want to get in that mikvah and he wants to count.
I want to count. I want to be part of the minyan. There's times, man, when I go to chakra sometime, and like there's 10 guys, including me.
Right.
And they're like, we can't get started yet. They're like, we need one more. Right. And like, and being in that type of setting multiple times, it can hit you hard. Right. And it gets me sometime. And I'm like, gosh, like, and it causes you, but I learned to find the good in everything. I love Rabbi Nachman. Rabbi Nachman always talks about find the good. And the good is that it pushes me to pray more. Mm-hmm. And it causes me to go back to Hashem and express my cares, whether it's a hurt, it's a frustration, and I go talk to Hashem about, like, Hashem, I'm frustrated, right? I'm a little upset about this, right? I want to count. I want to get this thing done, but like help, like settle my soul. Mm-hmm. Right. So,
yeah, I look at, the opportunity to just that day of when that does happen. I kind of look at it as like the birth of a child, if that makes sense, because we're getting a new neshama, like we're getting another neshama. Right. And so it's like Hashem knows when that new neshama needs to be brought here. And so it's kind of like, if you think about the aspect of a child, I look at it that way, and it kind of gives me more patience.
So you guys are in the womb now, you're developing, and
that's
you don't want to come out of the womb too early. It's dangerous.
Premature.
I think that just helps me kind of look at it. Right. And when I kind of look at it from that standpoint, I'm like, he has a timing. He has a timing for that specific neshama to, come into our soul. And that's when he knows it's the time, we're ready. it gives me peace, I think, looking at it like that. But yes, it's a strong desire of like, we want this so bad.
Right. I totally hear that.
Yeah.
Is there so as of now you're keeping Shabbos as much as you can?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you have like a specific, because you're not allowed to, right?
Yeah,
Sure.
so
'Cause
like
you're not Jewish.
90%.
So which is there like a specific malacha that you guys do?
Yeah, so we'll change it up, you know.
Okay.
Like someday, like sometime we'll cut a light on or something,
Right.
You know, we'll tear some tissue,
Right.
You know, something like that, you know. But we definitely, you know, we're not allowed to keep it 100%, and so, you know.
Yeah, we don't do nothing like major, like big or anything like I'm gonna just drive today.
Right. Like driving to shul.
Yeah.
I want to be part of the minion.
I'm gonna go to the store today. Like
Right.
no, so it's definitely like small little things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I hear that. So I don't know. I'm just curious. I think if this was like a month ago, I think I would have for sure been top of mind. But like once I'm thinking, I'm curious, and you guys don't have to give your opinion if you don't want to. Like, and it's a little veering off. But like, what's your opinion about like, let's say Kanye, like what he's saying? I mean, you guys definitely have more, I think, to say about what he's saying than even me. So like, what would you say to him or about everything he's going about?
Yeah. You know, to be honest, it's so hard to answer that question because for LaDerryl and I, because it's like, this is the thing. Like, yes, we know we're African American, that yes, there's some things of like Kanye we can relate to based off of color, but for LaDerryl and I, we've never looked at color. So I think for us, and especially my mom is Ukrainian and Irish French.
Interesting.
Yeah, so
That's a
I'm looking at my
mix.
roots because
Right.
I'm like, there could be some Jewish in that.
You passed already. You know?
Right. Wouldn't that be awesome? Like we went through the process, like, oh, we found it. And same with him. He has, you know, German and things like that. But for us, I think with all of that, I mean, it hurts to even see that. It hurts to see. There's quite a bit of Africans who, you know, we'll get messages on our YouTube of saying like, you guys don't have to, you know, you're already the chosen people. You were born the chosen people. You don't have to convert. And it's just unfortunate because our say so to that, it's not about color. It's about education. It's about, do you understand the Torah though? What does the Torah say? Right. And it's just I think even, you know, with Kanye and everything that he has to say about, you know, the Jews is just, he's very miseducated and he's looking at a negative standpoint of something and not understanding the whole aspect of it, the whole story behind it, because he's not educated on it.
Right. I hear that.
Yeah. You know, he's, you know, just, you know, him going on the rampage that he did, you know, I think it did something to us as well. Like it really, it hit a nerve because we feel, you know, we feel, I mean, we're connected to the Jewish people, you know, and his words were targets, you know, to the Jewish people. And our just, you know, even around that time, there was so much, even still now, there's so many things happening to the Jewish people that it's like, I don't know, it's terrible.
Right.
You know, but like she said, I just think, you know, Kanye or Ye, you know, he needs help.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
He needs a lot of help, and he also needs some education as well. You know, a lot of the things that a whole lot of things he says are very, very inaccurate, and you know, I just wish that there was some type of dialogue between, you know, him and some. You know, I think it'd be great for him and some, you know, maybe well-established Black Orthodox Jews to maybe have a really like a strong conversation, you know, to go back and forth. That way he can get educated, you know, educated, you know, regarding Judaism, but also from somebody that shares, you know, culturally as well.
Yeah.
You know, I think a very healthy discussion like that could possibly, who knows? You know, I think that could possibly be beneficial. But our hearts are with the Jewish people, and we stand with the Jewish people.
Wow, very well said. Is there a fear of like the day after you become Jewish, which is like obviously that's the goal right now, but like is there a fear that like that spark in you is gonna like go out and it won't feel as exciting and like Is that there? Because I definitely know in my life, like I know people that have converted, and some of the not some, a lot, most of them are like in it, and to me it seemed like every day is like a new thing. They're learning something else, and it's exciting. But there have been, unfortunately, people that have converted, but then they're like just fell off. Like I don't know why, and I'm not asking questions, but I've seen it. Like they're, I see them, and I'm like, it doesn't look like they're really practicing anymore. Yeah,
I think. Honestly, there's no fear here of us, wanting that fire or that a fear of the fire kind of going down. I mean, we've worked so hard to build the fire up, and I feel like we just don't have one flame. We have multiple flames, and it's gonna need to take the Pacific Ocean to put this fire out, man.
There's just so much in Judaism to learn that it's like, how can the flame go out? It's like, it's an ongoing, like you even said, like you're still learning stuff too. It's like, how can you just sit there and stop? There's just, I feel like you can go deeper and deeper every time you learn something. There's something to go deeper within Judaism. There's something new you're going to discover in the Tanakh, right? I feel like it's just an endless opportunity to learn, and it's exciting. It's like, it's sad to hear that the flame, and I think, somebody like that, they worked so hard to get to that point that it's unfortunate to hear that they just stopped. It's like, you've earned this new neshama, like, this is your second chance at life. Keep going. Like, keep letting that flame, light. And for us, it's just, I don't know. Like, it's very hard to explain, but there's definitely not a fear, and we definitely don't see that flame burning out.
No, and I think too, when you really look at it, when you learn something new about Hashem, then you also, that should be a level where you realize that you know nothing. Because Hashem is infinite. You can never get to a level to where you feel like you know Hashem.
Right.
Then you expand your knowledge. You get to another level, and you're like, wow, I still know nothing. Right? Because that's just the depth of who Hashem is, So like she said, the fire should never go out.
Yeah.
That's really beautiful. Really, really beautiful. So if there was one person from history that each of you could meet,
here we
go. Anyone. You have an hour.
Here we go.
Who would it be?
You want to go first? Let me go first.
I mean, my answer, yes, I have an answer. It's not super deep, but I think I would want to meet Hava, and I would want to know what was it like just living in Gan Eden and experiencing being the first woman, and just that whole aspect, that journey of like what happened, the whole, all of the changes and things that happened. It would just, that would be interesting to experience that and to have that moment.
Okay.
That is deep when you really think about it.
What language does she speak? Lashon HaKodesh? I don't even know. I don't know how to communicate with her. But right? We'll figure it out.
Right? Yeah.
I would say Moshe. Yeah. He was the greatest prophet that has ever lived and that ever will be. And what was it like, Moses, to speak to Hashem face to face, and like, what does that even mean? Because Hashem doesn't even have a face, It's like what was it like being? What was it like being on Mount Sinai receiving the Torah? Like, what was that moment like? Like when you say you heard Hashem, like, what does he sound like? Yeah. You know what I mean? Right. So I feel like Moses would be a very, very fascinating individual to me to learn from. And I mean his, and not even just those things, but I mean just the leader that he was, his humility, and how he did whatever he could to serve the community, to serve his brothers and sisters, to be there. He was very selfless, and it's maybe Moses.
Really beautiful answer. If out of the 613 mitzvahs, which one is your favorite mitzvah as of now?
Oh man,
it's a hard. By the way, it's a hard question. So
that is a hard question.
But like right now, which mitzvah might be Shabbos, but I don't know. Maybe you have a different answer. Like
giving.
Giving.
Yeah.
Giving what?
Like giving charity.
Charity.
Yeah.
Charity.
Giving charity. Yeah. Yeah. Zakah. And I think even because the fact that like our mitzvahs don't fully count right now, that's still like a universal like thing that people can just do, right? It's just giving charity. So, and that's always been something just near and dear to my heart, even before going down the route of Judaism, was just giving has been just a big thing to me. So, yeah, giving charity.
Okay.
Yeah.
LaDerryl, same answer? Or?
I love giving. Learning. You know, I have zitzes on. You know, and I think that's probably one that really, really hits home for me, because it's a reminder. It's a reminder, you know, when you look at these strings, it's supposed to remind you that you know, Hashem is one. It's supposed to remind you to keep the mitzvahs. It's supposed to, you know. So I think you know, once we kind of cross that line and we go into the mikvah, I think it's really, really going to connect deeply. You know, because like she said, you know, that's when it really, really counts. You know, right now I'm learning. You know, my rabbi gave me the green light that it was okay for me to practice putting it on in the morning and all these different things. And so I really enjoy putting it on. Like I feel powerful and connected wearing them.
Well, I can't wait until you can put tefillin on. So
I can't wait to wrap tefillin on.
So wait, tefillin you're not allowed to put on until you're a full Jew.
Correct.
Interesting. Okay, I'm curious what that feeling would be like.
Yeah.
Do you wear a talis or no?
I do.
You do wear a talis.
I do. Yep. Wear a talis.
You mentioned Rabbi Nachman before. Is that like which? I don't know. I hate labeling it, but I'm sure there's going to be a sect of Judaism. I don't know how to say it. Like, you know, like, are you going to be modern Orthodox? Are you going to be yeshivish? Are you going to be Breslev? Are you going to be Hasidish? Like,
we love Breslev Hasidus.
Yeah, Breslev.
Yeah, we love Breslev. Something about Rabbi Nachman's teachings that just does something. It lights a fire in us. You know, teaching about happiness and being joyful and serving God with, you know, with joy. That really feels good. You know, to and just. I think once we started really learning about Judaism as well, you know, Hasidus really just connected with us, because I feel like for us, it teaches us how to connect with Hashem every second of our day.
Right.
Everywhere we go, we get in our car, right? We get in our car, Hashem is there. Yeah. There's a way to connect with Hashem while you drive. There's a way to connect with Hashem. You know, when you're cooking, when you're playing the piano, when you're everything,
family time with your kids.
And I love that. So I think it's really created. Exactly. It's created a 24/7, 365 awareness. Yes. That really feels amazing.
That's really, really incredible. Is there a rabbi or someone online that you like learn a lot from, that like you haven't even met them, but you're like, oh, I love his or her, or whoever it is, teachings and stuff like that? It could be a podcast. It could be on Torah Anytime. It could be on YouTube. Is there someone out there?
We find ourselves watching and connecting a lot with Gedalia Finster.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
he's great.
Yeah, he's great. He's we love the stuff he talks about on relationships and marriage and bitachon and you know, all those different things is great. There's another amazing Breslev rabbi that we love, Rabbi David Kalmas. Yeah. He lives in Israel, and he's actually, and he's a good friend of ours as well. And
wow.
And
also Rabbi Tovia Singer. I think he was very instrumental in our journey of Judaism, of understanding, you know, just some of the things of, you know, how he has a better understanding of Christianity than Christians even know.
Right.
And so
he's been suggested for Inspiration for the Nation a lot.
Okay.
A lot of people. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He does. Okay, so this is a good transition, because talking about YouTube, like he's very big on YouTube.
Yeah,
sure.
You guys are blowing up on YouTube, which it's great. It's so cool to see you. Like, it seems like you just started and like you're already at, I don't know, 5K.
Yeah,
wild. That's wild.
It is pretty wild. You know, we first started our YouTube channel at the end, so December of 2021. Something like that,
yes,
right?
And it was just focused on marriage, you know, from a standpoint of like, you know, from our story and our experiences, but it wasn't really even from like a Jewish standpoint of like marriage. And so we ended up, you know, connecting with some other Jews that were asking about, you know, like what our content, and they suggested, they're like, you know, you guys are going through this conversion process. You should you should share that. You should talk about that. People want to hear that.
Yeah.
And that's when everything actually started, November 7th to be exact,
November
of
7th.
2022. And that's when everything kind of just grew from there.
We had 113 subscribers November 7th. And between now and then it's over 5,000, which is crazy. You know, we had no idea. We were hesitant because, like she said, we were just only talking about marriage a little bit, and we've had the conversation back and forth of like, okay, well, should we talk about some Jewish stuff? But we didn't really feel qualified because we weren't Jewish, and we were like, well, I don't know if people would take us serious, and but then we were talking and we were like, let's just share where we are. Let's just share our journey, and not to try to blow up, that was never the goal, but to just be honest and be transparent about our journey, because we remember when we first started, when we first started searching online, looking for answers, looking for people to connect with and to ask questions, to help us, give us some perspective. There wasn't a lot. There was some, right? We did have a couple people, with open arms, help us and things like that. But as far as couples, with families, there wasn't really any. We didn't find anything.
Yeah.
So we said, wow, well, what if we can be that for others? What if we can just kind of share our story, and maybe we can just talk about some of the struggles and starting a conversion process. What are we learning and all these different things? What if we can be that for people? And then that's when
because we were debating, like, should we talk about our conversion once we actually convert?
Right.
But then people were asking, they're like, you guys should share this. And it was always a desire. And so, like he said, we were searching, for other people who, maybe had a similar story, but it wasn't out there. So we're like, you know what? Let's share our story. If it helps people, great. It's not about, us at the end of the day. It's just about, what people want and kind of putting that content out there. And so
it's I think the revolution of like Torah being online, like I think for a while as the internet came out, like it was, people didn't really know what it was, so like a lot of rabbis at first were like, no way. But as time went on, the internet became such a staple in life, like you're banking, you're using Waze, like just basic things that it like people realize like, hey, wait, this is actually a valuable tool. Right. And there's ways to have, the internet could be a bad place for a lot of reasons, but just, but even time wasting, whatever it is. But like, hey, if you have proper filters in place and stuff like that, it's a great resource. Yes. So
100%.
I think the revolution of that's what I'm trying to do with living Lchaim. I think the revolution of like Orthodox Jews sharing, helping, you guys literally sharing your process of becoming Jewish, it already has impacted, more than 5,000 people, because as we know, so many people did not subscribe, watch the videos. Anyone who's watching, please subscribe to this channel, subscribe to their channel. The link will be in the show notes. But like you don't even like know the impact of like you guys said, like with Nissim, like he was someone that you found. Yeah. And imagine you didn't find them. And I'm confident there will be, if there hasn't been already, people that are like seeing your story and like, wait, these are questions I had. Like, this is amazing. This is such a good guide. And like, hey, I could understand what they're going through because I'm going through that. Like, it's a really beautiful, helpful thing.
Wow.
Baruch Hashem. We're very honored. The name of our channel used to be House of Hearts. And when we started sharing our journey back in November, she said, my wife said, we want to make sure that if we're going to really do this YouTube thing, we want to make sure that it always points to Hashem. And everything we do, our content, because it was all about elevating the family unit. That's always what it's been. And so she said, what if instead of saying House of Hearts, she said, what if we change it to House of Lev, which is the Hebrew word for heart, right? And so that way it still points to Hashem, and also, we found out kind of later on that Lev, that Lamed and that Vet encompasses the whole Tanakh. Like the beginning, the first letter of the Torah starts with a Beit, right? And the last letter of the Tanakh, which is in 2 Chronicles, it ends with a Lev. A Lamed. And so that whole entire Tanakh represents the heart of Hashem. And that's one thing that we want to do with our channel, is that we want to we want to share the heart of Hashem with the world.
Yeah.
That is really, really beautiful. I'm going to end off with this question. I don't know if I can imagine you have this answer, but I don't know if it's a secret. I don't know how these things work. Do you guys have Hebrew names picked out?
Oh, good question. So I do. I'm pretty set on mine. Yeah.
I'm like 90%.
Do you guys
sure
want to share it, or is it a secret? You want to like?
I want to wait for mine because if there was something that kind of switched in between now and that, I wouldn't want to say and then be like, okay, this is not it. But yeah, I have like, I mean, if he wants to share, I'm not sure. And plus two, we're like, people are like, oh, you don't want to go by that right now? No, because we still feel like we have, that old, I want to be called that when I have that new neshama. So.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna wait on mine.
Okay, fair.
Yeah, I wanna just, I'm gonna sit on it, but I know what it is.
Wow.
But I feel like once we go into the mikveh, it's like, ladies and gentlemen, this is who we are.
Yeah.
It's a very unique experience because, it's brought down that parents have a nevuah, the foresight to understand, by a bris or when they're naming their daughter, to like they have the name. So I don't know, maybe you guys have, maybe it's some form of nevuah that like that name, it connects to you and it's who you really are.
Yeah.
How does it work with your children?
Yeah. So yeah, our kids, our older two, they want to change theirs, and then we are changing our 4-year-olds. Our 2-year-old and our 9-month-old, they already have Hebrew names.
Oh, got it. Well, what are their names?
So it's Aaliyah. So we have like making an Aaliyah, right? Aaliyah Danielle, which means, that's my name.
Right.
Even though I know I'm like, yes, I technically do have a Hebrew name, but it's, now that I've had the experience of life, I want to just start fresh.
Got it. Okay.
And then our little one is Basia. So it's Basia Chava.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yep.
Really,
and then
really
our
nice.
oldest is Layla. It's our oldest daughter, and she wants to change her. Then our son is going to change his as well.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Really, really beautiful. Okay. I hope that day comes sooner than you realize. And I hope the experience and the search for becoming Jewish is even more exciting, more fulfilling than you could ever anticipate. And
thank you.
Thank you so much for coming here. I know you guys like we started with like super busy, but I really appreciate it.
Yaakov, thank you so much. We are so grateful to now know you. Thank you for reaching out to us and allowing us to be here and on your platform. Your platform, you are doing a tremendous work.
Yeah.
Continue to inspire the nations, inspire the world. And may you go from strength to strength. And we wish you much bracha and hatzlacha to you and your family.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening or watching to this week's episode. It's such an inspiration for me to get to talk to people like the Harts. It gets me thinking, like, why am I not appreciating Yiddishkeit, Judaism, as much as they are? And it's so easy just to get into the role of doing what you do, and the commandments, the mitzvahs, are there to really help us live our best life. But sometimes we just go through it as like, okay, check off the list, A, B, C, D. And the way they approach Judaism, their connection to Hashem, and everything, it's really nice to see, and it definitely changed me, and I hope it changes you as much as it did me. I'm still working on the catchphrase, but I'm going to come off the top of my head. Inspiration is easy to find if you look for it, but you got to change your life. Well, I don't know. I started this off. It's terrible. I'm getting distracted. I don't have a catchphrase yet. Email me, hi@livinglchaim.com, hi@livinglchaim.com for a catchphrase. Desperately need one. I'm working on it. Till next time, like and subscribe and give us 5 stars and do a mitzvah.
And lastly, I forgot to mention while I was filming this, go and follow them on YouTube, House of LEV. They have incredible content. If you haven't seen that already, you'll get brought into their world, and they're doing such a great job. So go check them out. The link is in the show notes.
Living Lchaim.